Hey everybody, welcome back to Mike's Wooden Things and Stuff. Kind of a different one today, because I generally don't work in plywood, but sometimes you just need a quick and dirty storage solution, and plywood is the best bet. So that's what we're going to do today. We are going to make a storage cubby compartment cabinet type situation for down at the crow's nest to better organize and store all the material that goes into the Glowforge laser cutter down there. So let's go through the design real quick, and then we'll figure out the only complicated part, the most complicated part of this build is figuring out how to break down a full sheet of plywood with a shop that is not capable of doing that. I'm probably going to have to do it out in the driveway with a circ saw to get things down to manageable size, because I'm in a one-car garage and it's full of tools. So let's we'll show you the design and then we'll get cutting. And it's pretty straightforward box with slats. Come on. All right, so here's the design. It's essentially a 4 foot by 3 foot by 2 foot box with a bunch of slats in it that way to divide up the different kinds of material that we need to use down at the Glowforge. I've already screwed up and miscalculated when I went to the store and bought, we're going with 1/2 inch plywood around the outside and 1/8 inch MDF for these ones. And I bought 1 sheet of 1/2 inch plywood, which is enough for these, the top and the bottom and one side. So I'm gonna rip back to the store real quick and buy another 1/4 sheet. It'll have to be a different kind of plywood, but it doesn't matter. It's going under a shelf. But that's the design. And then some of these are going to be removable and some of them will be glued in, so we can change the size of the compartments and stuff. But that's our box. I'll be back after another trip to the store and we'll start making this thing. Okay, so I intentionally left the piece that I was cutting, the top or bottom piece, the 3 foot by 4 foot piece, out of the plywood that didn't have the factory edge on it, a little bit oversized, so that I could now flush down the either top or bottom, the opposite piece, to that factory edge. So I'm going to mark this is factory edge. We're going to say this is the front of the cabinet so that I can flush we'll call this the top and this the bottom. I'm going to flush the top front with the bottom front. Then I'm going to do the same thing over on the other side in this exact same orientation. Backside doesn't matter as much because it's just going to have a piece of wood screwed to it for stability. But we're going to flush the top and the bottom up on the front and back. The front with the factory cut, the back with the cut that I made on the what is it called? The circular saw. Because that'll be close enough to straight and square for our purposes. Let's do it. So now we're going to cut the sides down to width, which is actually the height of the cabinet. And then we're just going to start just under 24 inches just to get a clean line. They should be at about 24 inches as it is. It doesn't really matter in this particular case because Glowforge material gets cut down to 20 inches wide to fit in the Glowforge. So any inside diameter bigger than 20 inches is going to hold what we need it to hold. So I'm just going to use the factory edge again and just nip off the other side to make it parallel and square. And the sides and back will all be the same dimension. So we're golden there. So we're, yeah, beauty. There we go, let's cut some joints for the corner. Corners. Times 4. Because I'm weird and I've got one, I'm gonna start my rabbit on these boards using my number 45 combination plane. Because I've got one and I like using it, and that's all the excuse that you need. So we're gonna just take some passes. Relieving. It's going to be a mess because it's plywood, but I do have a nicker on there, so it should be relatively clean, at least on the inside of that rabbit cut. It's going to tear some stuff out, but that's fine. I'm just getting it started so that I don't have to then I don't have to use a sacrificial fence on my table saw to get right to the edge of the board to make that rabbit. Okay, so now we can use that. You guys, the lighting's not very good, so you're not going to be able to tell. But I am now measuring the depth of my rabbit to where I left with the number 45. And because I'm already more than an eighth in, I can now set this to the width I want my rabbit and just nudge the fence all the way down until it's almost touching pass after pass, rather than it's a less than a ½ inch rabbit, so it should just be 3 or 4 passes. I'm not going to take out my blade and set up a dado stack and whatever. Let's set it to width and then we'll cut them out. Well, there we go. We've got ourselves a plywood box with some dividers. It's not the nicest piece of furniture I've ever made. It didn't need to be the nicest piece of furniture I've ever made. Sometimes you just need a thing that does a thing, and you just get it done to get it off your plate, to get that thing accomplished. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay safe. See you next time. Thanks for watching. It's everything it needs to be. Nothing more, nothing less. Bye for now.